Minoan, Crete by Andrea Noe. Today I'm going to talk to you about Minoan, Crete. Crete, if you're unfamiliar with it, is an island just south of Greece, as you can see on the map. It is actually part of Greece now. It is located on the south side, or on the south end of Europe. The Minoan civilization lived in Crete from approximately 3500 BC to 1100 BC. They are known to be the most important Bronze Age culture. The Bronze Age began in Crete around 2700 BC. Crete is the mythological home of King Minos and the Minotaur, as well as the Labyrinth. Crete is also the birthplace of the Greek god Zeus. He was said to have been born on Mount Ida. Sir John Arthur Evans began excavating Knossos, the largest of the Crete palaces, in 1900. His excavations lasted 35 years. He named the Minoan civilization after the legend of the King Minos. Ironically, the site was actually discovered in 1878 by a man named Minos Keller-Carino. Sir John Arthur Evans actually had to buy the land from the Ottoman Empire in order to excavate it. Knossos is considered Europe's oldest city. To begin with, I want to tell you a little bit about the Minoan dating systems. The first dating system was made by Arthur Evans. It is based on the pottery styles, and it is considered to be either early Minoan, middle Minoan, or late Minoan, and their respective subdivisions. Nicholas Platon has another Minoan dating system that I prefer. It is based on the palace development. He has the pre-palatial, proto-palatial, neo-palatial, and post-palatial. The pre-palatial time period between 3500 and 1900 BC was before the palaces were built. And the proto-palatial period lasted from 1900 to approximately 1650 BC. These were when the first palaces were built, and then they were destroyed. The neo-palatial area is when the new palaces were built, and that lasted until about 1450. In 1450, there was a natural disaster of some sort, and it caused the Minoan downfall. As you can see, Minoan Crete was located in a great area for lots of trade by sea, and we have their trade routes here. They traded with Egypt. They actually got a lot of papyrus from them. And they also imported cats from Egypt for hunting. They got copper from Cyprus, and they also traded with Canaan, Anatolia, and some of the locations off the Levantine coast. Looking a little bit closer, we can also see some of the areas that Minoans had cultural influence over, up in the Cyclades. And looking even closer here, we have Minoan Crete, as it was during the Minoan civilization. And you can see that we have country houses, palaces, sacred caves, mountain sanctuaries, and other settlements listed. Our four main ones here are Phaistos, Knossos, Mallia, and Zakros. These are the four that we'll be focusing on later on as we go through some of our excavations. I first want to talk to you a little bit about the people of Minoan Crete. They generally tended to have long dark hair that was curly, and the women wore dresses with long ruffled skirts, and some had bodices to lace up around their waist. They were depicted in the art as having their breast showing. However, we are unsure whether or not this is how they dressed in everyday life, or if this is only how they dressed up for religious ceremonies. And you can see the men have loincloths some of the time, and then they also have little garments that look sort of like skirts, except they're sewn through the middle, where, just underneath where the crotch would be. In their leisure time, Minoans loved to participate in sports such as boxing and bull jumping. Bull jumping was very important to the Minoans. The bull itself is considered to be a spiritual animal, and they even participated in board games. As you see, we have the inlay to a board game here in the middle. Minoans loved jewelry. They wore a lot of it, and the rings were almost always gold, and they also served administrative capacity as seals. The Minoans wore diadems, bracelets, anklets, rings, beads, pendants, armlets, headbands, hairpins, pretty much you name it. And they loved gold, like I said. They also loved amethyst, which we can see some amethyst beads over here. And the Minoans also got their subsistence from agriculture. They raised cows, pigs, goats, and sheep. And they, of course, also ate seafood since they did live on an island on the coast. I just didn't put any pictures of that. And they grew items such as wheat, barley, chickpeas, and vetch. And here we have a fresco that shows them gathering saffron. And saffron was used as a spice, but it also had a pigment in it that created a golden yellow color on dishes and textiles. And the Minoans also cultivated grapes, poppies, olives, and figs. The grapes, of course, were often used for making wine, as we have in our wine jug here. We see some grapes. Over here, we have this lady who's actually known as the poppy goddess because up on her headband here, she has little poppy seeds. We don't know if they use those just for eating food or if they also used them for opiates. And now we're on to the excavations. On the left-hand side, we actually have an aerial view of Knossos, and on the right-hand side, we have Arthur Evans and his team of people helping him excavate Knossos in the early 1900s. So we're going to talk about the four main palaces, which are Knossos, Phaistos, Mallia, and Zakros. We'll start with Knossos. Knossos is known as Europe's oldest city. The first palace was built in 1900 BC, and it was abandoned around 1380 to 1100 BC. The palace was made of limestone, plaster, wood, gypsum, mud brick, and it was filled with rubble. This is the royal road leading up to the palace. And these are lots of stairs. I noticed that I have quite a bit of love for the stairs in Knossos in the palace, which you will see that as we go on. And these stairs are actually known as the Grand Staircase. And they have these columns here that seem to be very prominent throughout much of the palace. And this is more of the stairs. It's just them from a different angle, which I thought this was a very beautiful picture, so I had to share it with you. And we see more of those columns. And even more columns, more of those same columns. We have the propylaeum, which is the entrance. And then we have the bull horns, and I also wanted to put this bull leaping figurine because bull leaping was so important to the Minoans, and it's thought to be a key ritual to their religion. And this was the bull chamber. And this is the Hall of Colonnades, which have more of those columns that we were just talking about. And this actually has something that is known as either the Dauphin Sanctuaries or the Queen's Quarters, depending on who you ask. Some archaeologists believe that these were palaces that we have found in Crete, and some people believe them just to be temples. It is my belief that there's a little bit more proof that they're actual palaces. But as you can see, they have a love of dolphins and marine life. And over here is an artist re-envisionment. And it has the ladies dressed up in their flowing gowns. And red and blue seem to be some defining theme colors here. And this is the throne room and an artist envisionment. And some people believe that the legendary King Minos actually sat right at this very throne, which is kind of fun to imagine. And this is the Hall of Double Axes and also an artist envisionment. Axes and double axes were pretty prominent as far as the weaponry goes and the tools go for the Minoans. And here we have the colors, which is a storage pit or a grain silo, and also a drainage system. The Minoans had, for their time, a somewhat advanced drainage system for taking care of waste and water. And no palace would be complete without a theater area. The next palace we'll talk about is Phaistos. The first palace here was 1850 BC, and it is located in south central Crete, and it is made of alabaster, limestone, wood, rubble, and mud brick. And up here we have a picture of the old palace location, and we have a storage jar and a long shot view of the entire palace area. We also have the central court and the benches, because no place would be complete without a place to sit. I like to imagine the Minoans having lots of fun activities going on in there, from dancing, drinking wine. They seem like they knew how to have a good time, I will say. And this is the King's Megaron and the lustral basin. The Megaron is a rectangular hall fronted by an open 2-column porch and in a more or less central open hearth, which is vented through an oculus in the roof above it. And it's surrounded by 4 columns. And the lustral basins, which have been found among the palaces, seem to be used either for regular bathing or for ritual cleansing, depending on what room they are found in. They like to be clean. That is a good thing, most definitely. Kind of gives me an idea of where the Greeks and Romans started with their baths. And here we also have magazines, which are for storing olive oil, wine, and wheat. And we have something called pillar crypts, which are found in a lot of the buildings. They're ground level floors with pillars in them, and the pillars often have symbols on them, such as stars, double axes, and tridents. We're not 100% sure what they were used for, but they seem to be associated with some sort of cult activity. And of course, Phaistos also has a theater area, great for entertainment. Mallia is our 3rd largest palace, and the first palace was built in 1900 BC. The second palace was built in 1700 BC, and like the others, it was destroyed in 1450 BC. It is known as the most provincial of the Minoan palaces. I was actually lucky enough to stumble upon some models here of the palace, and you can see that it was 2 stories high, and it must have been quite beautiful in its heyday, and now as we see it has sort of been just left as this, but there's still proof, still remnants of its beauty. And one of the coolest things found at this palace is this table here that is believed to be a kind of kurnos of classic Greece. In the cavities, the Minoans would put seeds as an offering to the gods for a successful crop. And a cool thing is that this is actually still a ritual that is done today in Greece. And these are more storage magazines for storing some of their goods. And they also had a corn granary. So some of the things they ate were very close to what we eat today. It's not very hard to imagine sitting down at a dinner table with them and enjoying a good meal. And we also have a grand staircase, because everybody loves stairs, more of the pillar crypts and the lustral basins that we find at the other sites. Zakros is our next and our smallest of the 4 palaces. It is located on the very eastern coast of Greece, which I think is a really great area because it is the closest to Egypt, and everybody loves being right on the beach. Who wouldn't? Unless a tsunami comes to get you. So the first palace, like some of the others, was built in 1900 BC. The second palace around 1700 BC, and it was destroyed in 1450. And we have the town stairs here, more stairs. They have a central court here, which would have been for many fun activities. And we have the palace and coastal city picture here. This is what I really wanted to show you. You can see that it's located literally just right on the beach. So I think that would have been a really nice place to live at, personally. And we have here a bench, more lustral basins, and a hall of ceremonies. And it wouldn't be the Bronze Age without having a bronze smelting kiln built right into the building. And also a cistern room for water storage and possibly for waste storage. And also an archive room. And something to be noted was that the Minoans had 2 languages. They had 2 written languages. They had Linear A, which has not been deciphered yet, and Linear B, which has been deciphered, and it's the earliest known of the Greek languages. And a few more important artifacts that I want to share with you are this here is the Minoan snake goddess. Artifacts of her were only found in houses, so she is possibly the goddess of the household. Minoan Crete was a goddess-centered, a female deity-centered religion. So we didn't really have, I've really not found many mentions of gods, but many goddesses. And also the Phaistos disc, a roughly 6-inch disc made of clay that was found in Phaistos. This has linear A written all over it to give you an idea of some of the characters that are found in linear A, which we haven't deciphered. They range from axes to men with mohawks to flowers, birds, cat faces, and fish. Very interesting things I thought they had on there. And also some more artwork. We had dolphins and octopuses, which I noticed were two of the most commonly depicted animals besides bulls. So the dolphins and octopuses, I imagine that's because they lived on the coast, that they thought these were beautiful creatures. Maybe they also ate them, but there's no proof either way, I don't think. But yes, so I hope everybody enjoyed my presentation today. The end.